Now, in a recent interview, Floyd Mayweather stated that, forget Tank, Devin Haney and Shakur Stevenson need to fight each other. I think he also mentioned that as long as Tank is with, Mayweather and Al Heyman, that he's just fine. Now, before anyone tries to call me a Floyd Mayweather hater or a Gervonta Tank Davis hater, I like both, especially Mayweather. I feel like Mayweather was the best fighter of his generation. He paved the way and showed that you didn't need to be bonded to a promotional company in order to be successful. You could be your own man. He left Top Rank and, made his own promotions, Mayweather Promotions, and was very successful. He used his undefeated record as financial mileage, and he played the villain role perfectly, and not to mention his actual boxing ability. I mean, everything about Mayweather was amazing. But I did not like him in this situation saying that, Devin Haney and Shakur Stevenson need to fight each other. He should be wanting to put Tank Davis against the best of the very best. And that includes Shakur Stevenson and Devin Haney. He should be saying that Tank Davis, Devin Haney, and Shakur Stevenson should all fight, rather than just saying, forget Tank, Haney, and Shakur need to fight. Is this Mayweather trying to protect Gervonta Tank Davis? Is Floyd Mayweather really confident in Gervonta Tank Davis' ability? I'm not saying Gervonta Tank Davis isn't the best lightweight, but if Floyd Mayweather surely believed that, he would definitely want to see, him fight Devin Haney, him fight Shakur Stevenson. If he really believed that, Gervonta Tank Davis is the best lightweight, he would put him up against the best opponents, and he would be, begging for that fight. He wouldn't be saying, forget Gervonta Tank Davis, these guys need to do their own thing, Tank's with me. I just find the whole situation really incredible, because Tank Davis not long ago was adamant. He said that he only had one fight left. He seemed frustrated with Mayweather, like he didn't want to deal with Floyd Mayweather, like their relationship had strained. But somehow, he hasn't re-signed officially with Mayweather Promotions, but it just seems as if he might re-sign, and I just find it incredible. I thought after the Rolly Mero fight that Floyd Mayweather would go his way, him and London Ellaby, and Gervonta Tank Davis would go his own way, but it doesn't seem the case. It seems like Mayweather genuinely believes that Gervonta Tank Davis wants to re-sign for him, and the way he's talking about Tank Davis, I guess you would have to assume that Tank Davis is probably with it, if you know what I mean. He's probably with signing a new deal with Mayweather Promotions, and he's probably content with continuing on, even though he's clearly had his issues with Mayweather and Mayweather Promotions. So what does that say about Gervonta Tank Davis? Does he really know what he wants in his career if he's coming out and saying that, this is going to be my last fight, he just wants to forget about Mayweather Promotions and move on, essentially? Put that past him, and then it seems as if he is on the verge of, continuing with Mayweather Promotions, and that Floyd Mayweather is talking about him as if he controls his career. The way Floyd was saying that, you would think that Tank Davis already re-signed, or that they reached a verbal agreement in secrecy and they're almost waiting to just extend Gervonta Tank Davis so he can continue with Mayweather Promotions. So I found it absolutely incredible. Now, some people are coming out and saying that, well, Gervonta Tank Davis doesn't have time on his side, that he needs to go out and fight the very top guys. I don't know exactly how old he is. I believe he is around 28, 29, give or take. So you would assume he is in the prime of his career. That means he really needs to be fighting the best fighters. Some people are saying that if he doesn't get to Shakur Stevenson now, if he doesn't get to a Devin Haney now, that there will just be too good for him, essentially, in 3-4 years, that Tank Davis' athleticism will decline, and those guys will just be too big, too strong for Tank Davis, and they'll walk past him, essentially. That's what some people have been saying. I don't know if I necessarily agree with that, but that's what some people believe. They believe that if Tank Davis doesn't get in the ring with a Devin Haney or Ryan Garcia or a Shakur Stevenson sooner rather than later, it could be to his detriment. So let me know what you guys in the comment section below think about that. Is Tank Davis running out of time? Should he be eager to get in the ring with these guys? Or does Tank Davis not need any of these guys? Do these guys need Tank Davis more than Tank Davis needs them? Some people have been very critical of Gervonta Tank Davis' resume, saying that Floyd Mayweather, Leonard Ellerbe, Al Heyman, Mayweather Promotions, and Showtime, PBC have just protected Gervonta Tank Davis, that his best wins are against guys like Mario Barrios and against guys like Rolly Romero and Pitbull Cruz, and some people genuinely just think that he was always set up to win those fights, in not the sense that the fight was fixed, but they're coming out and saying that stylistically Gervonta Tank Davis was always going to win, and that these guys weren't necessarily high profile fighters prior to fighting Tank, essentially, that no one really knew of them, even though they were undefeated. Some people think that Mayweather Promotions are trying to be a little bit clever. They're giving you the illusion that Tank Davis is a big puncher, and they're putting him in with guys who have 0 losses, and then Tank is the first one to give someone like a Barrios or a Rolly Romero their first L. So, do you guys think that Mayweather Promotions are being very deceptive with their matchmaking of Gervonta Tank Davis' fights? Because as good as Mario Barrios is, and a Rolly Romero is, or a Pitbull Cruz is, they're limited and they're not on the same level as Ryan Garcia, a Devin Haney, or Shakur Stevenson. Now, you can't really say that Tank has straight away or avoided the Ryan Garcia fight. That's just not true. Ryan Garcia has been the one calling out Manny Pacquiao, Tank Davis, saying that he wants to fight this guy and that guy, almost using those guys' names for publicity to gain more traction and to gain more followers, and so people tune in on his fight. So definitely nothing in between the Tank and Ryan fight, because you can't really be too critical of Tank Davis. It's not his fault that that fight specifically hasn't happened. But with Mayweather coming out and saying that forget about Tank Davis, that Devin Haney and Shakur should fight each other, I mean, that amazed me. And this is coming from someone who is a very big believer in Floyd Mayweather's ability, someone who supported Mayweather in certain things he did throughout his career, such as changing up the way he fights, changing his fighting style to be more conservative, which is more conducive to long-term health, especially later in life. So I really do respect Mayweather in that aspect, and I think he is, if not the greatest, one of the greatest fighters. But I did not really like him coming out saying that forget Tank Davis, Shakur Stevenson and Devin Haney should fight each other. All the top guys are going to have to fight each other eventually. Does Tank Davis really want to be in a position where Haney is, what, 26, 27? Shakur Stevenson is 28, 29? And what, Tank Davis is into his early mid-30s? You know, is that favorable for Tank Davis? Because eventually you would suspect that they're going to have to fight each other. Is he just trying to build up the Tank Davis, I don't want to call it a hype train, but kind of his reputation? Because if you think about it from this perspective, if a Haney and Shakur Stevenson were to fight, and you would assume they'd probably fight more than once, that would be a very technical matchup. It's more of a boxing purist's fight, because the casuals probably not as interested in it, because these are two very skilled fighters. So let's say they fight 3 times, they exchange wins, losses, and they probably have a draw, and let's say Tank Davis is still undefeated. The public going to have the perception that, oh, actually Tank Davis is the main guy, because look at his knockout record and he hasn't lost and his career continues to progress. But is it progressing against A-level fighters? We need to see Tank Davis now up against the very, very best, such as a Haney or a Stevenson, because I know that Devin Haney is pushing for the Gervonta Tank Davis fight. He said that if it weren't Kambosos, or after Kambosos, sorry, he would fight between, it would be either Lomachenko or Gervonta Tank Davis. Either fight is a big fight, so you can't fault him. If he fights Lomachenko, you couldn't say, oh, he's ducking Tank Davis, because Lomachenko was an elite lightweight. And if he fights Gervonta Tank Davis, you can't say, oh, well, Devin Haney is ducking Lomachenko, because it's a win-win. They're two great fights. You can't complain as a boxing fan. So I know someone like a Devin Haney would push for a Gervonta Tank Davis fight, but I'm not so sure, on Tank's side it would be the same thing. I'm a bit unsure about it, especially with Mayweather coming out and saying that keep Devin Haney, that forget about Tank, Haney and Shakur Stevenson should fight. Maybe Mayweather doesn't have the confidence in Gervonta Tank Davis. Maybe he believes that Haney and Shakur Stevenson are better. I don't know. We often hear rumors about what happened in sparring between Devin Haney and Gervonta Tank Davis. I think they've sparred twice. So from what I know, the first time, I think Haney actually said that Gervonta Tank Davis actually did get to him and he did put in the work. Haney was probably around, 15 at the time, I think he said. But I think they sparred about a year later. Haney probably was about 16 years old in a couple months. And apparently, from what I've heard, Devin Haney boxed Gervonta Tank Davis's head off. So, you can never really know what's true and what's not. But from what I heard, Tank got the better of Haney in the first spar, and Haney got the better of Tank in the second spar. Do you guys think that's true? I guess what happens in sparring stays in sparring. We'll never really know. We just need to see them in the ring. Hopefully in the future, not too distant future, maybe about 2023 would be a reasonable time to see Gervonta Tank Davis, Devin Haney fight. But you never know. It might get dragged on. They might try to build up the fight. It might happen 4, 5, 6 years down the line. You never know. But I just feel as the longer the fight takes to happen, the more favored Devin Haney is, because he's only going to continue to get better. Probably, I don't want to say a fear. At the end of the day, it's just boxing. But one thing to note is that how long can Devin Haney really stay at the weight class, and even Tank Davis? Will they both move up to 140 around the same time? They probably will fight at 140 because Haney said that making weight is actually quite difficult. He did come out and say that he made weight better for the Kambosos fight than he did for the Jojo Diaz fight, that he wasn't using the sauna and so on and so forth, but it's always going to be difficult for him to make 135 pounds. So you'd suspect that eventually, probably after 2-3 fights at max, Haney's going to move up to 140. Let's say he fights a Kambosos. Let's assume that Mayweather doesn't want the Devin Haney Gervonta Tank Davis fight, so he goes on to fight Lomachenko instead of Tank Davis. Do you reckon that Haney moves up if he were to beat a Lomachenko and a George Kambosos? Let's just assume he wins those 2 fights. Is he going to move up in weight? Because how long can he stay at 135? He can't stay at that weight class forever. And the same thing with Tank Davis. Even though Tank Davis actually fought below 135 pounds, this is someone who's missed weight before. So it's clearly not easy for him to get to 135, and he has fought at 140 already. So eventually Tank Davis is also going to have to move up in weight class. So let's hope if one does move up in weight, the other follows quickly, so it's easier to make the fight and there's no obstacle. But either way, even if one were to move up and one was still fighting at the other lower class at 135 and one was at 140, surely the other one could go up to 140 just for that fight, because they'd probably prefer it. 5 pounds when you're, cutting is a lot, so who wouldn't want to fight at the higher weight class? Even if someone was continuing in the lower weight class, he could probably just drop their belts and move up. So let me know what you guys in the comment section what you guys think about Mayweather saying, forget Tank, Haney and Stevenson need to fight each other. Is this Floyd Mayweather trying to protect Gervonta Tank Davis? Do you guys think that Tank has had it easy, as some people have been suggesting. I wouldn't say so necessarily, but some people think that Tank Davis hasn't been fighting the elite people in his division. So do you guys agree with that point? Do you disagree? Let me know what you guys think about the situation. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. All right, peace.